So I'm now live streaming this on YouTube, just to make you aware. And
Alrighty, thank you.
you can go ahead at any time.
Alrighty. Hi, folks. I'd like to call what our little New World meeting to order. I don't even know what today's date is. What's today's date?
14th.
14th of April. I apologize. I've been off work for over 2 weeks and I've lost track of what the days are. Alrighty, I believe everyone's got a chance to see this evening's agenda. I assume that approving the agenda is no different than any other meeting, Matthew?
That's correct. You just need a mover, seconder, and then all in favor.
Alright, so if everyone's had a chance to look at it, if anyone cares to make the motion, speak up, because I can't see everybody on one screen. So, anybody care to make that motion?
I can make a motion,
Nope.
Kevin.
I don't know who that was.
It's Tracy. It's Tracy.
Hi, Tracy. Tracy makes
Hi.
the motion.
I'll
Second?
it. I'll second it.
Karen, I can see. Alrighty, all in favor? Everybody?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes.
Yep.
Alrighty, motion carried. I apologize. This is the first time I've had to do something like this.
You're doing fine.
Indeed.
Next, any declarations of interest? No. Got 3 screens of people. Alrighty. No declarations of interest. Next, the meetings from, or the minutes from March 3rd. I know Darren, they just got sent out earlier. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at them. Again, if someone would make the motion to approve those minutes.
I approve. Ben?
That was Ben, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ben makes the motion. Someone second?
Tracy
I'll
will
second
second.
Oh, who said it first?
Kevin, can you hear me now?
Who's that?
Oh, is it Pearl? Yay.
Tracy, second the motion for approving the minute.
Pearl, do you have 2 devices on? Because that really echoed and I'm seeing Pearl and Elizabeth's iPad here. You're going to need to shut one of them down because one's going to echo to the other.
I'm trying, but I don't know how.
Okay, that's awesome. That's just leave that.
Wicked.
That's great.
Jimi Hendrix is in the meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I think I got it. Did I get it?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear
Okay.
you. Can't see it.
No
All
one
All
wants
right.
to
Well,
see.
that's before I get into all the items, just how's everybody doing?
Good. Doing well.
No one's gone insane yet?
You really want to know?
How much detail do you want?
Well, as long as you're all alive, that's good so far.
That's it.
As long as everyone's keeping
Often
busy,
here.
I'm renovating the house, so I'm keeping busy. All right, where are we here? Sorry, I have to jump back and forth screens here. A few things we came up with. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, good. Just making sure while I jump screens. Few things that we came up with, a lot revolving around obviously the fact that downtown's not ridiculously busy right now. Couple things we could maybe possibly look at. First, we'll discuss hosting a conference call with Town and Chamber to determine if we got opportunities to collaborate on the next steps and potential joint recovery plan after this is all over. Of course, the worst part is we don't really know when this is. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts behind that. I actually haven't even had a chance to
Kevin, your volume's really cutting out. I don't know if that's just me or.
No, that's definitely cutting
Is
out.
that better?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's-
that
Oh,
is.
okay. I think my speaker's on the bottom and I have my finger on it. I apologize. Did anybody, so do you need me to repeat that?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
All right, 5.1, discussion on hosting a conference call with the town and chamber to determine if there is any opportunity to collaborate on next steps and potential joint recovery plan for after all this is all said and done. By all said and done, it's possibly we can all get back to business. I don't know if anyone's got any thoughts on the idea.
So I think from a town perspective, we'd be happy to be able to provide that. Certainly want to understand what the chamber has some ideas. Really what we want to do is start to create and think about plans as to once restrictions are lifted, what can we do to help support? So obviously Prescott dollars, Prescott Proud dollars, things like that, and being able to really put some advertising behind it, you know, those types of things. At this point, our the vast majority of our messaging is around essential trips only, staying at home, that type of thing. So I think anything from that perspective, we need to be consistent to make sure that we're not sending mixed messages. But more than happy to really talk about this. And I think we just received the town-specific results from the United Counties survey that they did of businesses. And so that I think will help us. And we really want to reach out to the BIA, the chamber, as well as a number of our other partners to be able to really determine how we can help when the economy does open up and the restrictions are lifted. So more than happy to coordinate that and be able to move that forward.
And I can provide just a little bit of insight from some of the feedback that we've received. There's actually been 13 direct follow-up requests from Prescott businesses as part of the survey. This survey was a partnership between United Grenville Counties and many business organizations. The BIAs have been involved, the chambers, a lot of business support organizations, and we're looking to develop some real good regional strategies to help address the impacts of this. And there's been a county-wide survey as well as individual survey reports prepared. So I'll be sharing those with the BIA, and the plan was once we receive those results is to get together as suggested, hosting a conference call so we can discuss some of the local results and begin developing strategies to help offset the impacts now and developing recovery strategies moving forward. I can tell you there's been, as I mentioned, there's been 13 follow-up requests. Majority have been from downtown BIA core area, which I don't think would come as a surprise to anyone. The majority of businesses impacted are small in nature, 1 to 4 employees, couple of businesses in the 5 to 19 category, but really the vast majority is our small businesses and single owner businesses as well. So they're really feeling the burn. It's been retailers, restaurants, and service providers. That's the mix that we're seeing that are experiencing the most impacts at this point. So it's just individual reports that I've received for the businesses. So I'll be amalgamating them into a bit of a spreadsheet and provide you with a follow-up report so that we can actually begin identifying areas of commonality that we're seeing.
Definitely one thing that I think came out of my initial review of the report is people need a simple step-by-step guide to understand what programs are available to them from a business perspective, what supports are out there from both the federal and provincial government. And so that's certainly something that we want to kind of get moving on in the shorter term so that we can help those businesses as quickly as possible to support what they're doing. And then from the longer term perspective, once restrictions are lifted, then how can we really support that economic drive to help people get back to the businesses?
Mm-hmm.
So can we plan on
Anybody else? Any thoughts?
Well, I'd just like to, I guess, to pipe in here, I guess, on behalf of the chamber, we're always all ears and open to meet. I'd like to echo Matthew as well on the programs. Obviously, I'm being impacted by this, and Dana, to echo your comments. I think that's probably one of the toughest things is what programs are available. And I guess the larger businesses are getting some relief, but it's more the smaller, no employees, no salary. And I heard today that there's going to be a program being launched next week through the government. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be good. But I think keeping them in light of what's going on would be great.
I think that's one of the biggest, as far as feedback that I'm hearing, is the programs that we are seeing rolling out are very much geared to the medium, larger enterprises.
Yep.
It's mostly loan-based, and I can tell you, I'm sure as all of you are familiar with, a lot of our small businesses are not in a position to take on or incur additional debt at this point. There's a lot of forgiveness opportunities. There's programs that are in place as far as GST, EI, which are great. The CARB program is in place as well, which I'm hearing mixed feedback from business owners as to whether they qualify for that program. So I'm really hoping to get some more feedback on that from our business owners, because I'm getting the sense that there's a crack that people are falling through here. And I think our small businesses, of course, are going to bear the burden of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the programming that's being announced has never been tried before, right? Like this is all new, so it's being rolled out because there's pressure to roll these things out and get started, but it's sort of they're having to tweak everything as they go.
Yeah.
And because of that, there's so much information, like you had mentioned earlier, that it's good to have sort of a one-stop shop for information for our businesses. I think I would really like to see sort of encourage the businesses who have questions in terms of looking for information to refer them to a specific place. And so far, for me, that's either the town's website or the United Counties website.
And I would echo those comments, Darren. I think those two websites have been a good resource. We're trying to keep them as updated as possible. And as you mentioned, it's ever changing, the supports that are available. So I can only imagine how confused the businesses must be by it, because we're confused as well, just trying to keep up and get that information out there. So our website does provide a direct link to the LG Counties page. So maybe referring people to the Prescott website. It provides information about business supports as well as supports for employees. But other town staff have developed many other resources on that page. It's a really good overview of COVID-19 resources, not just for businesses, but for individuals, health-related resources. It's kind of a really good one-stop shop right now. I would suggest that would be a good resource.
Are there links to any of the government sites on that page, Dana?
There are, yeah, direct links to all of the government supports that are available for businesses, employees, self-employed, and individuals, and links directly to government sites, health units, other health providers. Yeah. It's pretty robust.
I think.
Yeah, I know. Because I'm fortunate on one hand because I work full time, so I don't have a lot to lose as far as my business goes. But I am home. I had to go off work because of my kids, because I don't have any school or daycare for them. So I'm applying for the CERB for being off work. But as far as my business side of things go, there's basically nothing to help me keep the business afloat. Now, financially, I don't really have an issue, but yeah, like you don't want a $40,000 loan. That just doesn't do any good for anybody, and there's nothing else there. So I'm hoping to see more, but we'll see.
I would, once again, absolutely agree with you, Kevin. And just to sort of build on what Dana was talking about with businesses, the ability to take on debt, I think there's an important piece that goes along with that, and that's getting the message back to the different levels of government that, you know what, loans are not an option, but grants are. To my mind, after listening to enough people, is We can't take on more debt. What we need is cash relief to be able to pay bills, to be able to pay rent, whatever sort of the need is. It sounds like a grant type of method of delivery is better.
Yeah. We just got to get the government to come up with it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's important too, is as part of these surveys that are being done, is these results are being communicated to associations and organizations that are here to provide advocacy for businesses, such as the Chamber of Commerce, RTOs, TIO, and they have direct relationships with governments. And our hope is that, I think it's also very important to get the rural message out. A lot of times it's the urban impacts that tend to be highlighted. And our goal, with the county group that's been formed, is really to ensure that those rural impacts are being communicated to those upper levels of government so that they're being addressed in our smaller communities.
I think I've been on the OBIAA has been having two conference calls a week. And I just had one today. They have them every Tuesday and Thursday. And the subject came up of, once again, of how these loans through the government that are going to be managed by the banks are not really an option for small businesses. And the good part about that is it's relevant to the major centers and the rural areas. Like, small business is small business, right? So even in the larger centers, $40,000 debt is not going to help some of these folks. So, in today's call with the OBIAA, we talked about sort of that very fact, and that the need for grants, right? The need for that quick access to cash is what the small businesses really need.
So basically, I guess, long story short, to kind of, with the topic at hand, basically that information that you have, Dana, if we get that, possibly whenever our next meeting is, because I know obviously we're in the state of emergency till what, May 12th now, I guess. I'm sure we can have a meeting by then, but kind of maybe formulate some stuff around that.
Absolutely. And Darren, I think you received the initial survey reports. It's just the business feedback that I need to review a little bit more, and I can forward on to the group by tomorrow with, possibly some suggestions for actions moving forward. And maybe we can get a conference call scheduled for later this week with the BIA and possibly chamber representatives.
Sure.
But feel free to forward those results on to the rest of the BIA, the initial results that have been received. They are public.
Okay, I can do that.
One other group we should probably check in with is LG Approved. Dave Annable and Kevin Spencer in the group have been pretty aggressive about this, and they have a lot of members throughout Leeds Grenville, so wouldn't be a bad thing to loop them in on some of this as well, in addition to what's happening with the counties. Corridor also did a survey as well a little while back. They were the first ones out of the gates on this, and I think the biggest thing is just in looking at some of the comments and reviewing some of what was in the county's report. It's not a lot of surprises. It's a lot of, like was already been mentioned, people want clarity. People want one-stop shopping. And I think, quite frankly, a lot of small business owners, because people are stretched as it is, just want someone to help them out and guide them through this when it comes to making the application, sorting things out. And a lot of that for us, I mean, I don't know what the federal member here has been doing with that directly. I'm assuming there's some help through Mr. Barrett's office, but I mean, there's got to be a way we can facilitate moving things along. My only, we want to do all we can to look locally, and if we have anything that's needed right here in town, absolutely. But I don't want to reinvent the wheel with this either, so we don't have our staff repeating what LG Approved and the counties and Mr. Barrett's office have been doing. So I just think we need to gather some information here and then have that meeting back when we have a little more information on it. I'm not saying take too much time, but I just want to make sure we focus our efforts. The one thing I will say that did note and reading through, can tell it's a small town because you can actually probably identify most of the people that actually provided the comments on the survey. It was interesting that most people didn't seem to want much from the municipality directly. That seemed to be a significant part of that. I think there was a realization that what's happening here goes beyond what the town can do. There were some comments about some basic things in terms of cleanliness in the downtown. I did note, and I've had some comments about garbage up around the power center, up by McDonald's, and so on and so forth. Matthew and I discussed a little of this last week, looking at a plan where we could have public works staff on this. So when we are ready to come out of this, particularly in the downtown is spick and span, things are painted. We have everything just ready to go for the spring, because at some point we are going to reopen. Hopefully we'll start easing off towards later May. I think is probably the earliest timing right now, but I just want to make sure we're ready for it. And it is something that the CAO and I have discussed along with other members of council as well. So we'll have a plan there to go, but anything that BIA members see that needs attention downtown, let us know. And if we can take care of it and respect social distancing, and obviously, respect all the things we have to do right now to stop the spread, we will do it. So like we have full staff on board right now, so we can look at things as they come up. So anyone has any suggestions along those lines, please forward them on. But I think that's about all I have on that. I just think we need to distribute the information, check things out, and then set up another conference call.
Well, we can keep pushing whatever information the BIA, because I think some information has been pushed through the page, but just keep pushing the information, even if it's repeating ourselves a few times. Hopefully people can find the message. And is it any advantage to suggesting for people to contact your MP or your like Mr. Barrett or Mr. Clark?
Well, let's just see what
directing people that way, or.
Well, I think in part, but I think let's just see what staff can, let's just get that single portal, whether it goes through us to federal agencies or it's some other arrangement. I just think people want that one point of contact locally. It doesn't absolutely have to be the municipality. It doesn't absolutely have to be the BIA or chamber, but as long as we can funnel that to the right place, so local people have that initial contact. But I just think we need a little more information just with regards to what people are looking for as well, because I think we just got the study back today, and I think you have to look at the questions that are being asked, and then we have to decide how to answer them. So it'll take a little bit of time, but it shouldn't take much time. But I just think we need to give it to Dana and Matt in particular, just to kind of give us a little direction on that, and then work with Chamber and BIA to see what solution works.
All right.
Are we comfortable to move on to 5.2 now?
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get back to this at our next meeting and see where we're at. 5.2, discussion on whether we want to use
Actually,
any money
before we
as a
move
reserve.
on, can we have a motion on that? I'd be happy to make it, supporting setting up the conference call with town and chamber to determine next steps. Let's just capture what we're doing here. So
Sure. Thank you. So the motion to have a conference call with chamber and town, made by Brett. Somebody care to second that?
I'll second it.
You guys say things at the same time. Who's that?
I believe it was Pearl who seconded it.
I'll put you down, Pearl. Yeah.
All right. Great. Thank you. All in favor?
Yep. Favor.
I'm raising my hand.
It's hard to see
but you can't
everybody at
me.
once. All right. Motion carried. Next, discussion on whether to use any money from the reserves for a joint or individual special project post-pandemic, or to start using it for any specific purposes we come up with. I don't have any specific purposes on the top of my head, but I don't know if anybody else might have a thought that I don't know.
I could probably speak to this a little bit, Kevin. So I added this into the agenda just sort of to put it on everybody's radar, that we do have a reserve, and that depending on, I think, what exactly we want to do, either moving forward or once again, sort of a recovery type of initiative once this is all finished. Now we have the opportunity to do something ourselves, right? But we had just finished talking about having a conference call with the town and the chamber. So I think from my advice would be, let's look at what we can do jointly with the other two groups. And if there's an opportunity for us to contribute to that financially to increase the positive outcome for the BIA, I think I really would suggest that we consider that.
So the other thing to consider is that there's approximately $35,000 in reserve. And then the question is do you want to continue with the $29,000 levy for 2020 or reduce that on a one-time basis to help support the BIA businesses? So all told, there's approximately $64,000, $35,000 in reserve, and then whatever is raised through this year's levy. And so that's something definitely to consider is, do you want to continue with that same $29,000 amount, or is this an opportunity to perhaps lean on reserves for the remainder of this year and then provide an opportunity to decrease the costs or the levy directly to the BIA owners of the buildings? So that's certainly a possibility, something to think about. Nothing has to be decided at this moment or juncture, because the town hasn't yet passed their final levy for 2020, but certainly something by the end of May that needs to be determined.
I guess that would also depend on if we actually came up with something that was costly, I would suspect, yes?
Correct.
I mean, we can,
But at the very least, I think there is merit in that separate idea of considering, either reducing or potentially even waiving the levy this year as a gesture of support, because I think we're all seeing it is the downtown that is going to be impacted the most from a business perspective. So maybe something for future discussion.
and this, I want to clarify, there's still things we can do that won't necessarily cost a lot of money. So like there's still things we can do in the interim, and that's actually the next item, but there's some things we can still do without dipping into the reserve or without spending too much money. But I do think it's important to consider sort of what our options are. And if we do, like Matthew and Dana said, if we do have the opportunity to provide some relief to the property owners and businesses in the downtown, then I think it's definitely worth considering.
This is
And
true.
the town has already passed tax deferrals, have they not? Maybe Matthew or Brett, can you speak to that a little bit? To help offset the impact for commercial property owners, I believe.
Nothing's been finalized yet.
Okay, so still in discussion at this point?
Exactly.
General direction that we're looking at ways to reduce the overall the taxes down to the zero and look at other options as well, but we haven't decided on anything firm. The only thing we did was push back the deadlines. But Matt can comment further on that.
Yeah, so from a tax deferral standpoint, absolutely the deadlines that we've had in previous years of July 31st and August 31st have been asked by council to push them off. The exact date of those will be determined by the end of May. So as we get a little bit more information and be able to determine exactly what the tax rates will be for 2020, then that will become a little bit clearer. But certainly we have some indication now from the province of when they're moving the school board tax due dates that we pay the school boards directly on. And so now that we have that bit of information, then we're able to better understand how we can kind of change our timing of payments to match that a little bit more, and then be able to space that out over the second half of the year.
I don't know if I really have any more on that topic. Anybody else?
Lots of thinking
Oh,
going on.
Sorry, what was that, Darren?
Lots of thinking going on.
Well, don't think too hard. So obviously, well, we can figure this out over time, but obviously it's a possibility if we need to. Everybody agrees on that?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
Alrighty. Any other thoughts before we move on? All right, give me a second here. Alrighty, we'll move on to 5.3. Let's have a discussion on, is there any types of promotions or activities that the BIA jointly or individually wants to do during or post-pandemic? An example that was mentioned to me, I think it came from Tracy, I think, was the Takeout Tuesdays. And I don't know if anybody's seen it, but launching the Good News Project, which I believe, I know Darren knows more about. He was talking with Joe Martell about it. I don't know, Darren, if you want to elaborate on that one a little bit.
Yeah, I can do that. Excuse me. So what the Good News Project is an attempt to sort of, everyone right now is flooded with all sorts of negative stories about how bad things are, or just sort of maybe generally overwhelmed with the amount of information that's swirling around out there right now. So what I came up with was to try to replace some of that with some good local good news stories. So to set up a program or a way that people could submit good news stories from the local community about an individual, maybe an essential worker, a community organization, or a business that is sort of going above and beyond to help people. So if we can get people to submit those stories, we could choose a weekly winner, and Joe has agreed to publish the winner in the South Grenville Journal. I almost said Prescott Journal there. So yeah, so weekly, have people send their good news stories in. We choose a winner each week. They get published in the journal, and we put them on our Facebook page as well. And there's an opportunity there if the town is willing to, let's say, commit to giving us some Prescott Proud dollars, send to the winner. It's just sort of a way to try to overcome some of the anxiety that's out there in the community right now. And good news is it doesn't cost us anything.
I think it sounds wonderful. I think the mental health issue will be our next challenge when this is all months ahead of us, you know?
Yeah, I like it. Could we use some of our money to buy gift cards from the local restaurants that are still providing takeout, and then we could award the winner, you know, the candidate or the nomination person that week with a gift card where they could get takeout from one of the local restaurants?
And it's engagement. That's something in itself.
Yes.
I think we'd be more than happy to contribute Prescott Proud dollars within reason, of course. Like, what were you thinking, Darren? Maybe $25 per winner, or 50, maybe 25?
25
And
to
I can
50.
tell you, I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure all of our restaurants do participate in that program.
Yeah.
So if we do give the dollars out, it would give them some choice.
Yeah.
And as far as, you know, if we were able to add the Prescott Proud dollars to it, it wouldn't be a case of we'd have to hand them over to anyone personally, that they could be mailed to the winner, right?
Yeah, we could mail them
Yeah.
out from town hall for sure.
Yeah, so there wouldn't be an interaction necessary. You could sit at home and wait for your prize to show up and get your story in the paper.
Was Joe thinking every week?
Yes, well, that's what we had discussed, yep.
Yeah.
I've crafted a poster already for it, and we were thinking about putting that in the paper first, just to let people know it's happening, and then set a date to ask people to start submitting stories. It's hard to say how many we'll get initially, but I do think like sort of like a poster launch like that would be a big help. Follow it up with a press release too. Just cut back on some of the noise.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's a nice interim thing that we can do as we're developing some broader strategies to help offset the impacts.
Mhm.
And I think I do like, as much as I like the takeout, some sort of takeout campaign. I don't know if that's necessarily consistent with the messaging from the town right now about basically trying to keep everybody home. I don't know how everyone feels about that, but I mean, there's potential to do some sort of, you know, food takeout campaign, but is that the right thing for us to do now?
I kind of like the other one because it stands to support a broader range mix of businesses versus just the restaurants. And there's a lot of other essential businesses that are allowed to remain open and provide services, you know, via pickup and delivery. So I think the other program is a good way to support them all.
Yeah, I would agree as well. And as it's ever changing, we don't know what's going to happen, right? They may close and they may decide at one point to completely stop delivery or pickup.
Mhm.
Yeah.
True.
Then we're pigeonholed in that product, right? So
One industry.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's quite a few things that we can do around the restaurants as things open back up. But from a messaging standpoint, we would like to try and keep it to essential. But the Good News Project, absolutely fantastic, right messaging, positive, and we can put a little bit of money behind that. I don't foresee that as being any type of issue.
Okay.
So did you want Prescott Proud dollars and gift certificates in that then?
No, I think just the Proud dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the thing about the Proud dollars is interesting from our standpoint in that it tells us where people are spending the money. So
Yeah.
when you give the money out, when people redeem it, when the businesses redeem it, it tells you what their priorities are at that given point in time for a particular initiative. So it does provide a little bit of market data on the back end so that we understand things a little bit as well.
So I don't know how you want to handle this. I don't think a motion's necessary, but we could do one if you want. Most of a good chunk of the work's been done already, but I didn't want to do the whole thing without letting all of you know what's going on.
oh, sorry, I just have one more thing to add, if that's okay. So just as far as a program, I think it's great with the Prescott dollars, Prescott Proud bucks. I guess depending on how it's positioned, obviously we're doing a joint, adventure with the BIA in the town. And then I just want to make sure about how it's communicated because as you know, with the chamber, we do have businesses outside of there. So just as long as it doesn't reflect all of South Grenville in a sense, right, that it's communicated that way. Right, so we don't leave the other one.
Is that
Yeah,
what you
it makes it a bit awkward, especially when it does come to giving out Prescott Proud dollars. If that is going to be the focus, it really would have to be Prescott specific.
Mhm.
Yes, I just want to add that depending on, I just want to make sure it's communicated properly. That's all.
Yep.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
And I'm sure it was going to. I would just want to point that out.
Yes, yes.
Was that Joe's thought by chance, Darren, to keep it just Prescott?
No, that wasn't his thought. It was, but I mean, for the BIA, from our perspective, if we're going to put some time and energy into this, I'm sure our members would appreciate that the focus be the town of Prescott. Whoa. Okay.
That's 14 days for you, whoever that was.
I'm just gonna say, someone needs to be swabbed. Ugh.
So do now all the Prescott dollars that'll come from the town, do we need to put anything in to aid that, or are we good the way it is?
No, if
Well,
we're talking,
It'd be good to have some direction on exactly what you're talking about. You know, will it go on for, you know, would you do, I don't know, maybe set it for 2 months, maybe do one winner a week? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, specifically, I was thinking one winner a week, and potentially, we don't, this is actually something to remember, but we are not bound by the COVID-19. I mean, we can keep this going, even if the state of emergency is lifted. If we feel there's value, we can keep this going, because it never hurts to have some good news, right?
I think for the interim period, a couple of months, we could definitely support that. We'd only be looking at maybe $200. But if it were to say become a permanent program, which I would definitely support, maybe at that point we could look at a budget partnership between the town and BIA.
Sure.
Just my food for thought.
That sounds good.
so if you're comfortable with it, then for the next 8 weeks, the town would provide $25 to the winner per week in Prescott Pro dollars.
Thanks, everybody. I think this will help just lift the mood of some people. Like I said, just getting some positive messages out there, talking about all the people in the community that are doing great work. I just think this will be could be a big boost.
Yeah, it's a good idea for sure.
Yeah, great suggestion on your part, Darren.
All right. Anything else on this topic? It's like watching the Brady Bunch on my phone.
So true.
Moving on?
What's that?
Are we moving on?
Yeah, moving on. 5-4. A discussion in regards to community and business safety and security concerns. I know, Brett, there was issues brought to you in regards to some of like the playground stuff. I know you were talking with the OPP about they were going to kind of keep an eye on groups of people in the playgrounds and stuff like that. Is there anything, do they have any stepped up patrols in the evening as far as keeping an eye on downtown and stuff like that?
Yes, then they are aware of the one problem area that we had on, it seemed to have happened overnight Thursday, where we had some vandalism in the downtown along the waterfront. Don't recall or know of anything that happened on King Street itself, but there was a tree, oddly enough, was cut down in the amphitheater. A number of the LED lights had the bottom bars smashed off them. Just a little bit of a vandalism spree. The tree is the weird one, just because it took some real effort to cut the tree down. It wasn't just like a sapling. It was a reasonably mature growth tree. But yeah, OPP are on it. Bylaw has been working the weekends and will continue to work the weekends to keep an eye on the playgrounds, play structures, and so on. Nothing really major to report, though. We had one issue with an institution in town that actually took a lot of time and energy on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but that thankfully was resolved before it got particularly pointed. But everything else, from what I understand from talking to the bylaw guys on the weekend and from the CAO's updates the last couple of days, it was reasonably quiet. Most people were cooperating. A couple of people just asked to, kindly move along, but other than that, it's been pretty good. So I don't foresee any. It'd be another story once the weather really gets nicer and we're still into this in another couple of weeks. But as for right now, we're doing pretty well.
Does the OPP after hours, do they have more patrol out downtown or anything?
Supposed to be keeping an eye on the areas where we had the vandalism, yes.
Okay, but nothing like King Street.
Well, yeah, well, it's Water King. It's the downtown. That's what I've heard from Inspector Graves, and I think we're okay with that. I mean, I haven't heard, aside from the vandalism in the waterfront, I haven't heard of anything else on King itself. But if anything comes up, please, let the OPP know or let us know as well. So I have no problem communicating that to Nancy as well. They've been incredibly good through all of this for response and looking at problem areas. I really can't thank the OPP enough. What they did to back us and help us out on the weekend and the last week with that other item that I mentioned. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but they've been phenomenal. Just a great help overall. So if anybody needs anything like that and you think there's something that needs a little more attention or anyone's noticing anything, please let us know and we can ask the OPP for added coverage in that area. But it seems like it's actually, aside from that one spate of vandalism on Thursday, it's actually seems to be going fairly well.
Right. Anybody else have any thoughts on the topic? Kind of a good thing to know that things are being looked out for and everybody's absent and not down.
Kevin, covered your mic again, Kevin. Couldn't hear that last bit.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. People trying to call me at the same time. There we go. That's more better. All right, so nothing else on the topic? We can mosey on. 5-6, I don't expect much of an update, but we'll find out. Just an update on the coordinator position and our office space dealings. I know obviously we can't really do a whole lot right now, but I didn't know if there was any intentions on proceeding with anything, or are we just kind of staying the course?
So I think my recommendation,
probably a Matthew question. Let's go to Matthew on that.
So I think I followed up with an email a week or two ago, but our recommendation right now would be to put a hold on both items just during this particular episode. Thinking for the something for the board to consider is this something that you want to roll out now in 2020, or is it something that you would like to take a pause on and bring back and be ready to hit the ground running in January of 2021? So just something for the board to consider. It certainly we want the this position to have the best possible environment in which to succeed, and so this year is going to be difficult, and especially given the fact that now we're looking at 6 months or less to be able to get it in place and show results in the course of 2020. So, so certainly our original recommendation is to hold until we have an opportunity to really, be able to be face to face with possible candidates. And then secondly is, do you want to take a pause on it for 2020? And that discussion has to be in concert with the chamber, obviously, as well. So just a point for consideration, and then going from there.
Alrighty.
Well, I'm good with whatever the board decides, but I'd actually, depending on how long this goes, I mean, if it stretches into, say, if we lose the summer and we wind up into September and we're still sort of limited to opening, or whatever, we're not moving forward in any foreseeable way. But the one thing I see about the coordinator position is having that person in position this year could actually help with some of the outreach and help get the businesses. It's another asset that we could employ to work with businesses for the recovery period, which is obviously going to be fairly drawn out and probably, I mean, it's going to be traumatic, the impact of this across the board. And if we can actually get 5 or 6 months out of the position this year, I still think, I mean, Matthew's absolutely right in that it's going to be a negative period of time. It's going to be challenging, but if we put it off till next year, I really wonder if, because we're still going to be in the recovery period at that point as well. Like, even if we get things opened up this summer, it's still going to be a lengthy long road to kind of claw back. So I would like to see the position hired as soon as we foreseeably can, to be honest, so we can hit the ground running and reopen in a bigger way downtown and have those assets in place. There's good arguments to be made for both, but as long as things work out in the next month and a half or thereabouts with some plan towards reopening, I think it'd be nice to have that extra employee in place. The other thing I am concerned about as well is we've got a lot of irons in the fire with other town matters right now, and I don't want to overload our fairly small resource of one, really, with Dana. I really don't want to have Dana running around and doing all the downtown work, because I think there's going to be some pressure there as well as everybody reopens. So personally, I'd like to see the hiring go ahead. I mean, we were right at the point we were about to do the interviews that morning. We shut everything down. So we do have, the process has been started whenever we could do the interviews. I mean, the interviews could even be done over Zoom now, as far as that goes. And then, you could just make a conditional offer based on when things open up again as well. So we could proceed there, but anyways, that's just my take on it. It's not a hill I'm going to fight on, but it is the way I would lean, just because I think we're going to need all hands on deck to get the downtown rolling and to help with Chamber as we struggle to get out of this, what's going to be one hell of a mess.
Anybody else? I'm kind of not far off in agreeing with Brett, to be kind of honest, but I'd hate to see it go longer. It's already taken us a long time just to get to this point, but I was kind of thinking, as Matthew, you were answering, even the space though, for having the space at Ben's, we could still go ahead with that part of it once things lift, could we not?
Certainly, it just becomes a question of how much money you want to spend and resources on it this year, as opposed to looking at it from a forward perspective. Keeping in mind, council did give you 1 year, and this year being the only year, so that's a point to consider. If it's going to change from that, then you'd have to go back to council.
So.
I agree with Brett, just because I think you hear all around, like even businesses that were ready to launch, they're always saying, you know what, don't stop. Keep your plans going with what you already had planned. And I think that's really good advice.
Yeah, I agree too.
Yeah, I'm on the other hand though, yeah, I don't want to pressure town into having to deal with this. I know that you guys are probably dealing with a lot of stuff as it is. We had all the candidates we selected, right? So no interview was done, right? No one got interviewed?
No, like Brett said, we were ready to go and basically shut it down that same day. They held an emergency management meeting and decided to shut everything down from there. So we do have the candidates lined up. that is the other aspect is the longer this drags out, the more potential you have of having to go right back to the drawing board.
Right, you
Yeah.
could lose them.
Candidates may not be available in a few months. And I think from a town's perspective, if we left it too long, we would almost be obligated, I think, to re-advertise, would we not, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly a concern, is to just understand who would still be interested and who isn't. But certainly we can, it's a matter of timing.
Now, Matthew, do you feel there could be council concern or hesitation in making that promised investment basically to offset the salary contribution? Is that possibly where you're heading, and maybe with your recommendation for deferring?
It's a possibility. We haven't had that discussion at council, and they haven't set the rate for 2020, but certainly it's a consideration as we kind of move throughout this year. And then if there's going to be a reliance on council to support in 2021, then that has to be considered as well.
And just one more comment from an economic development department perspective, I'd like to echo Brett's comments. I completely agree. I think now more than ever, the downtown businesses are going to need that support. We're busy with a broader portfolio under the economic development department. So having some coordinator support from the BIA, whether it even be on a part-time basis, maybe for an interim situation, if the board doesn't want to move forward, I think there's definitely merit in having someone in that position to help in partnership in addressing some of these activities.
And like Matthew mentioned, if this is delayed, that could kill it outright, because it's going to go back into the budget process for 2021, and it's going to be freshly reviewed from a new point of view, and with some varying, obviously new concerns there with regards to what's been happening with the economy overall and municipal budgeting. So that could be challenging to get this restarted. This was a very, very, very long process to begin with. And we were right at the finish line. I think we did, the first interview was at 11 o'clock, and we made the call to cancel them at 10:30 at the end of our first emergency management meeting. So I again would personally like to see us just move ahead. And this is one way we can really look at preparing for the recovery. And to me, if we pull out of that, that's pulling an asset out of the downtown that I think is probably needed more than ever right now.
I just want to mention, and not to, I guess, because I don't have the data, but one thing we're waiting for is a report from the chamber. As you can imagine, or as you know, our members are done differently. There's some businesses that may close. There's businesses that may be potentially asking for a deferral. There's some businesses that may not even pay. So I think overall we can pivot quickly as far as, staffing and maybe the space. But I just want to point that out, that a meeting combined with the chamber would be important for that reason, to find out from the treasurer where our books are at, to see if this is still going to be feasible. So I just want to put that as a risk, because we realize that we may be losing some businesses, unfortunately.
Yeah, very good point. I think it really does need to be a joint decision amongst the, maybe getting the subcommittee together would be a good idea for further discussion, and then report back to each individual board for final decision.
That's probably not a bad idea, actually.
That's a good idea.
So is doing interviews a difficult thing for town right now? If we go that way, I should say.
Matthew, we have that capability of doing Skype-based interviews, do we not? Not the desired option, obviously, but.
We could use this same tool to be able to do that.
Or Zoom, yep.
Well, if chamber can't pay, I mean, that kind of kills the whole thing right there. So that's a really good point that Ben made. Obviously, it's a slightly different financial situation because the BIA is based on the property tax levy, and chambers, of course, the voluntary contribution and the members. And obviously there's some significant economic hardship out there. I will say though, like I did mention before, if this has to go back to the drawing board, it may be very challenging to get this through next year, just depending on what things are going to change dramatically for the municipality too. I would guess we're going to be facing some more stringent economic realities, like most municipalities. So that's the one real caution I would have. So I do hope the chamber can somehow get through this. But if not, hey, it's the reality. But it is going to be, I think it is going to be challenging to get this through again, because we all saw we had difficulty getting this through just this past winter. There was some opposition there. And I don't think that's going to go away if we had to bring this back. If anything, I think it would be more challenging, just given financial realities. I think there might be more of a push to try to make sure BIA and chamber can stand on their own 2 feet, because we're going to be looking after some of our own issues. So anyways, I just want to mention that. But yeah, we obviously, sorry, I didn't even realize that that was a question with chamber now. But of course, it's something that everybody has to consider. So we have to look at that and see what chamber can handle right now.
So it kind of sounds like I kind of get the gathering from everybody that we'd like to attempt to move forward.
Yes.
I could make I'd be happy to make a motion to that the BIA supports moving forward with the joint coordinator and the office space situation, and that we reach out to the Chamber of Commerce to determine their willingness and thoughts on the matter as well. Whatever good wording works there.
All right, I think I would agree with that. Anybody care to second Brett's motion?
Tracy.
Who's the quiet one?
Tracy.
Tracy.
Tracy seconds the motion. All in favor? I think that's everybody. Actually, there's 2 people I can't see.
I'm in favor.
There we go. Yeah, if we can't see you, you're gonna have to speak up. Sorry. Don't raise your hands.
I don't know why you can't see me.
Pearl, there's a separate
sure
video button. You may need to turn that on. Should be at the bottom of your screen. Start video, I think.
Pearl, are you using an iPad? Or there you are.
There you are.
There I am. Hello.
There we go.
I'm challenged.
I didn't say motion carried, did I? I'll say motion carried. Sorry, my son was giving me Easter candy. Alrighty. Move on to the next topic. Quick one, 5.6. Discussion about potential board members, or getting more board members, or anything for that matter.
Didn't we have someone that was interested? Wendy, somebody? Wendy from the Crazy Boys?
Unfortunately, Wendy has had to close her business here in town because Lux Boutiques has closed the boutiques. So she's no longer a business here in town. So to the best of my knowledge, that would now take away any chance of candidacy, I would believe.
Is she not affiliated with the Colonel's Inn?
No, not really.
Oh,
she was working there. She caters for them, but she's not.
Colonel's Inn is outside the BIA area also, though.
True, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
which was unfortunate because, yeah, she was interested and this all happened. So now is definitely not the time to probably put a call out for people, I would think. But
No.
the problem is we probably have one member who's going to leave or requires to leave, just we haven't been able to do it yet. So
That's Sherry.
yeah.
So what we'll provide you a bit of a guide to say what the process needs to be based on the bylaw, and then you can make a decision going forward based on that.
Sorry, Matthew, I missed you there on that one. Sorry.
So what we will do is we'll review the bylaw and provide a little bit of a report back to the BIA to identify what the process would be. And then move forward from there.
So I know there's the election side of things, but I thought there was, if someone was interested, you could review it, but yeah. Anyways, okay, so does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
All right. Dun, dun. We will mosey along. Number 6, financial report budget. Tracy, I don't know if you have information in front of you.
No, unfortunately, I don't have anything for the end of March yet.
You will soon.
What's that?
I said, Tracy will have something soon.
Sounds good. I'm sure our financials are good since we're, again, not spending any money, so.
I believe at this point, we still have a couple of invoices to come in, but only a little less than 5,000 was spent to the end of March.
Okay. Dana, have we heard any more on the signs, the Todd signs?
Yes, actually, just give me 1 second. I just had an email come in from Ernie, our representative, that I haven't had a chance to review yet. I asked him to. Okay, so I emailed him last week to see if he could give me an update on the installs, noting, you know, we fully understand things could be delayed because of this current pandemic. And he replied on April 8th to say they just got the go-ahead from MTO to continue with signage installs, so that's good. And he has a phone conference with them. Had a conference early this week, so I should get a follow-up email from him, I would think by tomorrow or the next day, and I can flip you an update. But it looks like things are on track, so you should see the new signs go in sometime this spring, early summer, I would think.
Lovely.
I'll definitely keep you posted.
Alrighty. Well, there's a report from staff. I don't know if there's anything else from staff. I don't know if Matthew has anything or Brett. I have no idea. Anybody have anything exciting they'd like to share?
Not from my perspective, no.
Alrighty. We shall move along. Next, we have number 8, coordinator's report. Sorry. That would go Darren's way.
Okay, I'll try to make this quick. Just to give everybody an update. So officially, I'm no longer under contract. I'm a volunteer at this point. But I just wanted to update you on just some of the things that I've been doing.
Taylor Blight.
Sorry, guys.
Like the ringtone. Some of the things that I've been up to. Obviously, the good news thing. I've been working on that and been doing for those who are following the Facebook page, been trying to share quite a bit of information through the Facebook page to encourage people to, remain informed. I mentioned earlier, the OBIA conference calls are happening every Tuesday and Thursday. I do have minutes available if somebody wants them, and I've taken my own notes on that. Any member of the board is welcome to also be a part of those calls. So if you want, I can provide you the link if you want to zoom in to those. Just let me know if you're interested. The United Counties of Leeds and Grenville also is having one weekly conference call. One's enough. Dana mentioned that they've been doing they've had a business survey out and that we've gotten some good feedback on that. I haven't had a lot of communication with the South Grenville Chamber, but I did let them know in a quick email that there is sort of somebody still watching the email and still working on Facebook. So they said thank you. I think they appreciated knowing there was someone else out there. Obviously, I've been setting out a newsletter pretty much weekly now rather than monthly. I'm really hoping, even though the distribution isn't as big as it once was, that people are still getting some good information from that. And of course, the typical stuff, answering any inquiries, phone calls, emails, messages through social media, any other inquiries. I'm doing my best to respond to them as quickly as I can. I know there's not too many businesses left open in the downtown, and it's hard to kind of keep track of them because for some of them, it seems like they're changing their hours. So it's kind of tough to sort of maintain any sort of inventory about who's still operating. But I think I did want to mention that Lux Boutiques is no longer operating. The Lamar Lux is still, so the salon and spa is still operating. Sorry, they're closed, but I mean, they haven't shut the business down. But the boutique space has been turned into a residential property now, and that property is now available. So I just felt it was good to let people know that was happening. Other than that, I don't really have anything else specifically to mention. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
I got nothing. All righty. Thank you very much, Darren, and also appreciate you kind of sticking around and helping us out for a little while.
Yeah, I like you guys. You're all right.
Well, we won't tell anybody. Next, number 9, new business. Actually, I thought of one just now while I was looking at it. I met with a couple of the board members of the farmer. Oh, sorry, I covered my mic again. I had a quick meeting with some of the members of the board of the farmers market. They came to see me down at my shop. Just having a quick discussion of BIA versus the farmers market, and there's help that we can give them kind of just to help promote, which I personally think would be great for them. They seem to have a new, well, they basically have a whole new board, and there seems to be a lot of enthusiasm behind it. But unfortunately, here we are stuck. The day they were putting out their, getting ready to put their applications out for vendors, of course, everything is shut down, and so they're kind of sitting and waiting too. But I just wanted to let people know about that. They were going to actually come to, I can't remember if it was going to be the last meeting we had or the next meeting we were going to have in person. They were actually going to be there to talk. But unfortunately, that's going to get held up unless we can tie them into maybe one of these meetings at some point. But just wanted to let you guys know that. No big news as far as that goes, but definitely they seem to be quite enthusiastic about it. So.
As I just want to mention something quickly. So in terms of farmers markets, I think a lot of people are assuming that farmers markets won't be operating this year. And I can say from having had a conversation with Katie Nolan from OMAFRA that I actually think farmers markets will be a go this year. It will just be a matter of when they are allowed to happen. So I think it's good to sort of keep our farmers market folks in mind, because who knows, they may be able to open up before some of our members are able to open up.
Anybody else got anything? Nope. Okie dokie. We'll move on to number 10. Was there any correspondence that we don't know about? Nobody wants to talk to us. Apparently we have number 11, a period for questions from members and public and media, but I don't know if we have any members or public or media here.
I don't believe so.
Unless anybody else has questions or anything they want to throw in there. No? Well, all right. Look at that. We had a meeting digitally, and it's probably one of the fastest meetings we've had. If anybody doesn't have anything, I would make a motion to adjourn the meeting if, unless anybody speak now or forever hold your peace.
Did you want to consider maybe having another meeting in a couple of weeks? Because we'll have follow-up information from our discussion with the BIA chamber related to the coordinator. Probably follow up from the survey results, potential strategies, actions. Maybe couldn't hurt.
Yeah.
I actually thought we were going to try and do that conference. I thought we were going to do that conference call, Zoom meeting with the chamber a little earlier than that, just to kind of review everything. But I don't want to rush anybody.
That's happening this week. But I mean, like a BIA, full BIA board meeting sooner than a month from now.
Okay, sorry. I just want to make sure we were still clearing the other one too. Thanks.
Yeah.
We can, I don't have a problem with that.
On the 28th?
Sure.
2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I realize
Same
everybody's
time.
probably got their social calendars are quite full, but
Same time, 6 p.m.
is this a good time for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, April 28th at 6 p.m. will be our next meeting via the same method as far as we know.
Yep.
All righty.
I'll send a doodle poll out to the subgroup so we can get that other meeting scheduled as soon as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Dana.
All right, who's gonna move our adjournment?
Oh, there's Brett, thumbs up. That was cute.
Moved by
I will
Brett.
second that.
Brett.
Okay, you're Zoom savvy. I'm a newbie.
Me too. How'd you do that?
The only problem is there's only 2 reactions. We need more. Clapping hand and a thumbs up. I can think of a few extras.
All right, do we have a seconder?
Oh, there's
Yeah, I'll
Teresa.
second it.
Teresa?
I found this thing.
Oh yeah, that is limited. Okay, now I'm just playing.
Okay, so we have a first and a seconder.
Yes, we do.
Okay, Chair, you going to call the vote?
He's talking, but there's no
Yeah,
sound.
Yeah, I
Kevin, you're
can't hear him.
completely
It's
muted.
because I'm covering my mic again. I'm sorry. I have a strange
Okay,
way of holding my
Teresa,
phone,
now-
and 9 times out of 10 it covers my mic. Sorry, I get kids asking me questions all the time while I'm sitting here. So did I say all in favor?
No.
No.
All in favor?
Yay.
There, motion carried.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out.
Love your new backgrounds.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Dana. I was going to.
Take care, everybody.
Hi,
Stay healthy.
Carol.
Take
Stay
care.
well.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.